Today we'll journey through time to explore the 5 most intense hurricanes ever recorded. Number 5. Hurricane Katrina. In August of 2005, Katrina was a large storm fizzling out over the ocean. As meteorologists watched, they saw the storm suddenly pick up strength and evolve into a Category 5 hurricane over the Gulf of Mexico. Shortly after, on August 28th, evacuation orders were put into place in New Orleans. As the storm surged against the shoreline, the city's levees began to break. The streets started to flood, which eventually led to 80% of New Orleans being underwater. Without the ability to evacuate, many residents found themselves trapped and seeking shelter on their roofs as the floodwaters rose. A staggering 1,833 people died in the storm, with an estimated 40% of deaths caused by drowning. 400,000 more were displaced to surrounding states. Perhaps the only hurricane that has ever been thought to be a man-made disaster rather than a natural disaster, due to the infrastructure failures that caused most of the widespread damage. FEMA declared Hurricane Katrina as the single most catastrophic natural disaster in U.S. history, as the recovery efforts cost more than $161 billion. Number 4. Hurricane Maria. This hurricane was the second Category 5 to reach land in the year of 2017, just 2 weeks after Hurricane Irma. The first island to be hit by the storm was the island of Dominica on September 18th. Wind speeds topped out at more than 175 miles per hour as the storm moved on to Guadalupe, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and finally Puerto Rico. When all was said and done, Maria had claimed 164 lives. However, there is a belief that the toll was much higher. The Puerto Rican government released a revision almost a full year later, estimating that the death toll was 2,975. The damage costs were estimated to top $90 billion for Puerto Rico and over $1.3 billion for Dominica, marking Maria as the third costliest storm to hit the U.S. Number 3. The Galveston Hurricane of 1900. In September of 1900, a storm so powerful hit the Gulf Coast of Texas that it claimed between 6,000 and 12,000 lives. After moving over the Florida Keys, the storm veered towards Texas and straight into Galveston. With only 4 days to prepare for the oncoming storm, residents were sitting ducks. The Category 4 storm clashed against the shoreline with surges of seawater more than 20 feet high. Flooding in the area caused the destruction of roughly 3,600 homes and countless buildings that were built to be stormproof. In the end, the total cost of damage came in at $30 million, or roughly $1 billion in present day. To prevent future catastrophes, Galveston built a 3.5-mile-long seawall that has since been increased to 10 miles. They also astoundingly raised the elevation of the entire city by 16 feet in some places. Number 2. Hurricane Mitch. Imagine a hurricane pausing in one spot and relentlessly hammering down rain, wind, and destruction. That's what happened in 1998 with Hurricane Mitch. After moving through the Gulf of Mexico, Hurricane Mitch seemed to stop and sit right on top of Honduras. The storm let out as much as 4 inches of rain per hour for 2 days straight, causing massive mudslides and flooding. The storm killed over 11,000 people and left countless more missing, leading it to being tagged as the second deadliest hurricane on record. Recovery costs reached more than $5 billion, and the country's infrastructure and food supply were severely damaged. Number 1. The Great Hurricane of 1780. At a time when the U.S. was still in its fight against the British Redcoats, a powerful storm was demolishing the Caribbean. Death tolls are estimated to have reached an astronomical 22,000 people. British and American warships who were fighting in the Revolutionary War were completely destroyed and left only to be remembered in the pages of history. Because of the record keeping at the time, there isn't much data on the speed, rainfall, or power of the storm. The few pieces of information we have to learn about the hurricane come from eyewitness accounts. Locals claim that the storm was able to rip the bark right off the trees. This means that wind speeds most likely topped 200 miles per hour. Despite the lack of data, we know that this storm is the deadliest hurricane in recorded history. As we wrap up this ride through hurricane history, we can't help but be in awe of nature's unparalleled power. These hurricanes, with their mesmerizing beauty and terrifying strength, are crucial players in our planet's climate system. While they bring devastation, they also serve as a reminder of our planet's interconnectedness and delicate balance.